Imagine Trump sleeping and farting in court. It is finished. Donald Trump has been diagnosed with dementia by a psychologist following his recent behavior in the courtroom. Let's get the details. According to a psychologist, former President Donald Trump's actions, such as farting and falling asleep, are consistent with a diagnosis of dementia, suggesting that he is losing control of his fundamental physical functions while testifying. Donald Trump is consistently displaying conduct consistent with a diagnosis of dementia, according to a psychologist, as he drags himself into court each day to face his hush money trial. Reporters inside the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse claim that on at least 5 of the 7 days the former president has been in court in recent weeks, he was seen dozing off at the defense table and his attorneys were making frantic attempts to rouse him. He can't control it, Dr. John Gartner said to teachmirror.com, adding that individuals with dementia often experience impulsively falling asleep throughout the day. After 28 years as a part-time assistant professor of psychiatry at Johns Hopkins University Medical School, psychologist Gartner said that it is so rare that it actually begs for an explanation that someone might fall asleep in court. Trump is probably running on adrenaline as a defendant, which would keep anybody awake in a normal human body. The natural stress response of adrenaline gives us an extra energy boost even when we're exhausted, he stated. You might thus see why it would be so odd for someone in such posture to fall asleep. It is pretty much unheard of, literally, for a defendant to fall asleep in court. Speaking with a number of his legal acquaintances, Gartner said that none of them had ever seen a defendant nod off in court in their whole professional lives. The 66-year-old remarked, "I've fallen asleep at the opera or whatever. However, he has dozed off 5 of the last 7 days." You may say something like, "Oh, he had a bad night." If he just did it once, he is unable to stay awake. That is not the same. 34 criminal counts against Trump stem from his effort to conceal a $130,000 hush money payment to porn actress Stormy Daniels during his presidency. Daniels said that she had an affair with the billionaire in Nevada in 2006, amid Trump's eventually successful presidential campaign in 2016. Assuming her statements would damage Trump's campaign, he and his group set out to silence her. According to court documents, it was his former lawyer turned adversary Michael Cohen who gave her the money. The deterioration of Trump's brain has left him completely unable of controlling his sleep-wake cycles, according to Gartner, who thinks the billionaire is in the latter stages of dementia. Literally, if his life depended on it, which it kind of does, he can't control it, said Gartner. He reasoned that Trump just couldn't stay up no matter how hard he tried, even though he knows it looks awful for him to nod off in court and would not be doing so if he had any remaining control. He is aware of how serious this is, thought Gartner. More than anything else, Donald Trump is afraid of being out as a loser or weakling. He is aware that nodding off in court makes him seem weak. Trump has been publicly embarrassed and chastised by his attorneys for the behavior on many occasions. Last week, he took aim at New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman, who was the first to disclose that the presumed Republican presidential candidate had passed out at the defense table. But the former president's courtroom naps aren't the only things that draw notice in the legal system. It's also said that he farts a lot, expelling many gaseous excretions every day. Even while X bursts with people commenting about the purported farts, American late-night comedy programs like those led by Jon Stewart and Jimmy Kimmel have addressed and made fun of them. It's still unclear if Trump has been farting in court or not. Naturally, the farting incident became quite popular on Twitter and in late-night comedies, but once again, we really need to place these things in a therapeutic perspective. This is significant, said Gartner. It seems like he is losing control over fundamental bodily processes in front of our eyes. Gartner stressed that the farting and sleeping would suggest that he's losing control over his basic bodily functions: sleep, wake, excretion, and that they are both consistent with a diagnosis of dementia. Furthermore, according to Gartner, the incidences are only expected to become worse since dementia is a degenerative illness that is not something that somebody can control or cure, though it may sometimes be lessened with the right care. It can only be detrimental to Trump because it's going to keep exposing itself in more and more uncontrollable ways, in more and more unconcealable ways, he said.